Hi everybody, Dr. Abbott here. This is our jazz worksheet. You know, it's kind of hard to do jazz in one page, but it's easy to point out some of the differences between jazz and other styles, and particularly why some people don't care for it. So let's go with number one. At the heart of jazz lie two things: improvisation and sound. Improvisation means that every time that you perform, it's different. The same way that every time I've shot this video, I've done it differently. You don't just stand up there without any ammunition, however. You have to get up and you have to understand where you're going, where you've been, what baggage do you have, what equipment do you have to stand up here with courage and do this lecture or to take a trumpet solo. Secondly, sound. Now, sound is very important because unlike electronic instruments in which everyone playing will sound the same, when you're playing an acoustic instrument, everything matters. The reed, the embouchure, how much air is coming out of the horn, the length of the horn. So the sound that you have is very individual. It's acoustic, that makes it very individual. And so what you'll see is in many styles of music, jazz has taught people that a unique sound is a brand. Number two, a jazz song is usually in A-B-A form. So we're going to start with the melody. We'll call that A. And then we'll have a section of improv. We'll call that B. And you'll know that's over when you go back to the A again. The melody and the improv is usually presented in theme and variations. Now, this is a European form because in particular, Mozart's Twinkle variations. So let's give that a listen for a minute. Let's see what happens here. There's 12 variations. I'm not going to play all 12. I'll play you the first statement of the theme, which is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, as you would know, and then the first variation of that. Not a big surprise, right? Then we have this middle part. And the first part again. So that's the first statement. Here comes the first variation. Can you sing? Listen. Dum, bum, 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 bum. Here's that middle. Bum, 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 and bum, 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 bum. Jazz just picked right up on that theme and variations form. So clearly, there's a Western European influence on jazz. But what happened in New Orleans, where this style started, is that it met the rhythms of the Caribbean and Africa. So this new rhythm, which we call, some people just say the Pink Panther beat, that met that concept. Let me do probably the most popular song when jazz first started and how New Orleans musicians maneuver their way around it. So let's paint a picture. The biggest recording star in 1900 was John Philip Sousa. And of course, Stars and Stripes Forever. Everyone has heard Stars and Stripes Forever, including people that were listening to it on the earliest cylinder records, so the recordings that look like this. So let's give a listen to that, the way that the Marine Band, the United States Marine Band, would play it. It's very, right, boom. So it's for marching. Repeats it again. These are called strains, by the way. Each time it repeats that melody, it's called a strain. So the musicians literally go back to the beginning and of the section. Now this is the second strain. Notice how it got softer. Okay. Towards the end of this piece, there's a classic moment called the Descant, where the piccolo player, or the whole section, stands up and plays a completely different melody while the original melody is happening. Let's listen to this famous Descant piccolo part. Okay? Now, can you hear the original melody? And then you hear the piccolo part on top, against it. Well, this is exactly what jazz piano players in particular began to take as an idea. Instead of having the two melodies at the same time, why don't we just get rid of the original melody like Mozart did, but play something related to that descant part, which, by the way, is very active. It's got a lot more notes than the original melody, so now you can sort of mess around with it. Now, here's a classic part of a Vladimir Horowitz concert, was his version, so his piano version of The Stars and Stripes Forever. Great. So what jazz piano players in New Orleans did was take that piano approach, which, by the way, is this stride, boom, ching, from ragtime. But here's Eubie Blake playing it. It's got that Pink Panther beat to it, and more notes. Improvisation over Stars and Stripes Forever. That's the second strain. It's a very quick transition then from that on a solo piano to the street, where New Orleans, last I heard, 33 Mardi Gras parades. So let's talk about our number 3 song. This is going to be Happy Birthday. Now, Happy Birthday, probably the most performed song of all time. Here's Wynton Marsalis at a masterclass in France playing Happy Birthday. Now, he has Victor Goines playing the saxophone along with him.
Okay, now Victor is going to play the melody of this song, and I'm going to play an improvisation around it.
Donc Victor va jouer la mélodie de la chanson et M. Marsalis il va faire une improvisation autour de cette mélodie.
Later that night, in the same event, before the band went out and performed, they warmed up by playing Happy Birthday. So you can hear now where it goes from just 2 people to an entire band. And this is the New Orleans style. The New Orleans style basically has everyone improvising at the same time. They call that collective improvisation. And it's a lot of fun for everybody. So even the snare drummers, they're playing that cadence, but they're free to add and subtract. And the bass drum is really active. Same concept. If you're playing a clarinet or a saxophone, you play above the trumpet melody. And if you're playing a lower instrument like a trombone or a tuba, you play below it. What Wynton Marsalis refers to as altitudes. So 3 planes take off at the same time. They don't hit each other because they fly at different altitudes. So in that style, if you listen to it, you can hear that they know where to go altitude-wise, and they stay there. So it sounds like you've just walked into a party with 12 conversations going on, but that's not really it at all. Everybody understands their function. So that's a lot of what happens in the New Orleans style. Let's talk a little bit about each time that you play through this melody, whether it's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Stars and Stripes Forever, Happy Birthday. Each time that you play through this is called a chorus. The rhythm that they're using in jazz, that is referred to as a swing beat. And a definition of that would be, it has to be steady. I mean, everything you've heard so far is steady. If you're going to play with other people in particular, with a feeling of lilt. Well, that's an Irish term, if you will, for something light and danceable. Precision. It can't sound surgical, but it has to be precise so that everybody's part fits in together. And a sense of relaxed vitality. So it has to have a life of its own, but sound relaxed. Number 6. Placing tones in unusual places is referred to as syncopation. Syncopation is important because it adds life to the song. Let's go back to Stars and Stripes Forever. Well, everyone's marching together. So you don't want everybody doing their own thing. Now, you do have marching bands where everybody's allowed to do their own thing. But think about, for instance, singing the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Right, so everybody can sing together. What if I said to everybody, all right, you ready? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proud? Everybody would be going, when am I supposed to sing? I don't know when the next note is going to happen. That's what syncopation does. It has a sense of suspense to it about where the next note's going to be. That's individuality. That is your personal statement of what's happening and how you're approaching it. Matter of fact, the use of swing rhythm is so advanced, it is impossible to accurately write it down. Yes, folks, we're still ahead of the computers. For the computer to try and keep up with us, even if you play a very simple idea into a computer notation program, it just doesn't get it. This adds to the individual style of the performer and is related to the concept of what is called flow in hip-hop. So hip-hop has just basically taken jazz concepts and added to them. Number 8, another important aspect of jazz is the desire of the improviser to tell his or her own story. Now, it's not as easy to hear the story when it's instrumental. That's important to remember. Through a unique use of 3 things we're going to talk about: sound, rhythm, and note choice. You're going to say, all right, what kind of sound does this soloist have? Is it a very direct sound? Is it a very breathy, withdrawn sound? Is it aggressive, the rhythm? Is it aggressive or is it laid back? I mean, every beat is going by like this, right? It's all going by, but it depends on where you put or your notes. And then note choice. Is it very sparse note choice or a very busy note choice? So you might say hello to someone, how you doing today? Oh, you won't believe what happened to me. I had a car, blah, 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 blah. And the next person you see, you might say, how you doing today? Well, it is what it is. Life is what it is. You know, what'd you say? Some saxophone players, trumpet players, soloists in general will be very wordy. Some will be very sparse. Some will use a lot of interesting rhythms. Some will use pretty standard rhythms. Some will have a very aggressive sound. Some will have a very breathy sound, sexy saxophone sound, for instance. Number 9, we're going to go into the whole concept of adding a band to what we would listen to in jazz. And we'll start by saying, number 9, the group sound is also critically important to jazz. So I have a picture of a house, as I always use in my classes. Who's going to be in the basement? The bass. Who's going to be in the middle? The piano and the guitar. Who's going to be up at the top? The drum ride cymbal. Unlike pop styles, where the bass drum and the snare drum are important. Bass drum at the base, snare drum in the middle. Boom, tack, boom, tack, low, middle, low, middle. Now we have this ding, 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 ding sound on the roof. And what I'll show you, what makes it so important, is that the bass plays this in the basement. And the drum plays this on the roof. And they're very, very related. So what happens is it makes the house strong, with the piano and or the guitar in the middle. And when that house is strong, we call that the intro of a song. They build the house. The soloist goes in. And the soloist can then do whatever they want to do on any level of the house because it will not fall down. Number 10, this is what we refer to as the name of the group of instruments supporting the soloist, the rhythm section. They're providing the rhythm to the soloist, but more importantly, they're providing the structure of the house. A jazz term of doing that is called comping. So comp could be short for accompanying. It could clearly be short for complementing. I mean, you don't want to step on this person when they're soloing. You don't want to play something louder or get in their way. You want to complement what they do. So we call that comping. The bass is a very important aspect of this music because it controls the rhythm, the harmony, and a lot of the melodic information that's happening in jazz. And the bass plays in this traditional style a pattern, doom, 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 like this. That is called walking. So you literally could put it on and walk around your room as some sort of aerobic exercise. Now notice, you're not doing that to the bass drum like you would in disco or EDM. It is now the bass, and what makes that interesting is the bass is now playing multiple notes, and so it's interesting on the bottom. And then you'll see the drummer who is imitating that and actually matching it on the roof. So this means that the instrument that provides the basic pulse in jazz is the bass, not the drums. So what does the drummer do? The drummer plays that rhythm, which we call a ride rhythm, on the cymbals. You can play it on the snare drum, jack, jack, attack, jack it, or the hi-hat, while providing that pulse that the bass is providing on the bass drum, but very lightly. So you don't want the bass drum, which only makes one sound, drowning out the bass, which provides an interesting series of sounds, which, by the way, we call a line in jazz. It has direction. So the drummer's free hand will now play comping. How do you listen to jazz? All the ways that I've mentioned. You can sing the melody if you know the melody. You can listen to the bass, you can listen to the drums, you can listen to the house. You can just enjoy the rhythm of the whole thing and dance to it, or you can sleep to it, whatever you need to do. But there's many ways to contemplate what this music is. Okay, so that's your jazz worksheet. and fill it out and get it back to me. Thank you.